Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. It's Halloween, and I always want a scary Halloween episode. And I was like, well, you haven't talked to Jeff Thill in a while, and everybody loves Jeff Thill. It's like Sarah Lee, right? Everybody loves Sarah Lee. Everybody loves Jeff Thill. Jeff, I haven't talked to you, I think, since last Halloween. How are you?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for that intro. By the way, when you said Sarah Lee, honestly, is that even still around? I mean, that jingle, that commercial jingle is still fresh in my head from the 1970s, where Sarah Lee coffee cake was a big deal.
I think it is.
Yeah, and I had to hand it to the marketing people on that commercial because they're using some bizarre roundabout form of double negatives, where the actual slogan was "Nobody doesn't like Sarah Lee." It's like, wait, hold on, nobody doesn't. No, wait, so that means somebody. Wait, if I liked it, I just as a kid, it was so confusing to me.
It's like I can't get no satisfaction. You can't.
Right, there you go.
You can't.
Somehow that made more sense to me. But nobody doesn't like. It's like, okay.
And I thought it was nobody does it like.
Oh no, you're right. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. You just did it. I think you're right, and I'm wrong on that. Nobody does it like Sir. Oh my God! All these years, I think you solved it. Oh my God!
All right. Well, this is already off to a good start. Let me Google this really quick because
you have to.
If you're older,
that makes so much more sense.
Okay, Sarah. Was it Sara? Sarah Lee.
Well, that just shows you how good a marketing campaign it was. I couldn't spell it if my life depended on it. I have no idea.
Let's see. Nobody does it like Sarah Lee. I think that's right. Sarah Lee.
Nobody does it like Sarah Lee. So I just did one of those classic hear the lyrics the wrong way and always believe those were the lyrics things.
Well, there's another one, though. Nobody doesn't like Sarah Lee. So there's two. You know what? I wonder if this is what do you call it? I'm going to hold the mic up and I'm.
Do you think it's a Mandela effect?
Let's see if it's a Mandela. Okay, let me see if there's no ad. I'm going to play it. Here it comes. Okay. Oh, there's an ad. This stupid woman made money off of her phone.
Of course.
Go away.
You have to watch her drive her car with some kind of GPS and then.
Okay, wait, here we go. Finish with you. Okay.
Sarah Lee, Hardy Fruit Muffins, take 17.
Okay, did you hear that?
Kind of. What did they say?
Everybody doesn't like something, but nobody doesn't like Sarah Lee.
So now we're in a world where it's a combination. Part of the ad was nobody doesn't like this, but nobody does it like Sarah Lee.
Yes.
Is it possible that we can both somehow win? I don't know. Oh my God!
I feel safe abandoning and letting you win.
Okay, thanks. Wow, now I'm worried about my need to win. What am I even winning? That was weird. I think I need to reflect on my shadow self and my projecting right now.
I think that's just part of being a comedian. Like the better comedians or the more evolved would just compete against themselves, which is not easy. But I literally,
that's right.
I this is how competitive I am. I bought Duolingo to learn to speak Spanish, and it sends me that little reminder, like, you are 17-day streak. Don't miss day 18. And I will literally get out of bed because I'm like, I can't break that. I'm going to win. Even there's nothing to win except doing another day, doing Spanish in the middle of the night and getting mad.
Don't even start me on Duolingo. I love it. I've been doing the same thing with Spanish, and it's really clever how they just play on your ego. Really is what they're doing.
Yes, I wanted to learn Arabic, but I was like, I had a Costa Rican boyfriend at that time, so I was learning Spanish, and then I was just like, you know what, you should know Spanish anyways. And
Yeah.
and also after COVID, I had brain fog, and I was like, "You got to fix this." So I loaded up a lot of so mediums or psychics will always hear me say this: your first piece of information before it gets edited by your whatever thoughts or tribal beliefs.
Right.
That's always the first psychic piece. So as many memory games as you can play. So I was like, get back on Duolingo, learn Spanish. That should work another part of your brain. And I really think it did help with the brain fog.
That is so interesting what you just said about the first thing that comes through, because you and I have talked about remote viewing, and I think a lot of your audience probably knows what that is. But,
yes,
there was an actual concerted effort by the CIA back in the 70s to see if we could psychically spy on the Russians, frankly. And there was a technique called remote viewing where you would take a pencil and you would tap it on paper and you would scribble, and this would keep your conscious mind busy so that, the theory goes, the subconscious would come through and you could tap into any fixed point in time and space, regardless of whether it already happened or would happen in the future, blah, blah, blah. But, Karen, there is something, I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but it is so funny. I would never, ever in a million years say I'm psychic. But I think we all have the tendency, right? We all have the possibility, right? Sure.
Absolutely.
But every time that I have said something and just blurted it out, where it seems almost impossible that I could have thought of that or come up with it, it just seems like it had to have been psychic, it always started with me being a smartass and wanting to make a joke. And I think there's something to be said for that. Isn't that weird? Where my brain loosens up because I'm about to deliver a joke, and now I'm in a good mood, and that's when stuff from the subconscious comes through. So, as an example, I had a guy once that said, "Hey, you'll never guess what I saw on the way into work today." And just being a smartass, I don't know, the Oscar Mayer Wiener Mobile. Dude, I have no idea. And, of course, it was the Oscar Mayer Wiener Mobile.
Wow.
Within a week's time, again, my smartass mode never turns off, us comedians, but there was a girl in the copier room. And by the way, guys, back in the day, we had rooms where you would make copies of things.
Because the machines were so big.
That's right. There would be an actual machine there. And this is going to sound terrible, but at first, but bear with me. I walk into this room. It's very small, and there's a woman there my age, probably in her 30s or something. And I've never seen her before. She's brand new, and I'm never one to just blurt out and start talking to people that I've never met before like that. I was trying to be polite. And for some weird reason, the smartass in me came out, and I'm like, "Hey, how's it going there, sissy?" And I'm like, what the hell? Why? Why would I say that out loud? I don't even know this person, and who the hell is sissy? That is the stupidest weird. It's almost like that Brian Regan joke where he talks about a woman who's pregnant, but she's not really pregnant, and he just wants so bad to grab the words before they can land and just pull them back into his mouth. You're just like, oh my God. And she goes, "Why did you just call me that?" And I'm like, I have no idea. By the way, my name's Jeff. I am so sorry. I have no clue why that just came out of my mouth. And she goes, "Well, I have to tell you that I had a horrible relationship with a total crazy dude that I had to get out of my life. And my name is Jenny, by the way. Nice to meet you. But he had this really annoying nickname for me, which was Sissy." And I was like, oh, my God. Again, I am so sorry. Please let me leave this room now. I swear I will never talk to you again. I promise. But then just as the trifecta, within a couple days later, my buddy that worked there walked up and said, "Hey, I heard you're psychic." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know about that. You probably talked to Sissy." Anyway, he said, "I tell you what, Jeff, if you can guess my mom's name, I will believe that you're psychic." And this is, 6'4", tall, white dude with long hair, kind of a hippie-looking guy. Mm-hmm. And again, smartass mode. I don't know, Letitia.
Oh, that's
the
tough
last
one.
name you would ever think of. I don't even know. I don't know a single Letitia. I've never met a Letitia. This guy did not look like someone whose mom would be named Letitia. It just blurted out, and he's like, would not believe that I didn't somehow ask somebody or know, because that was his mom's name, Letitia.
Wow. Well, you're telepathic at the very least. That's the big,
Something's going on. Maybe that's what's happening. You tell me, Karen. I don't know. But.
Exactly. Telepathic, psychic. And, I watched a whole tape on remote viewing by the lady that you used to know, Candace, or yeah. Prudence. And there's for folks that are like, it lost me a little bit at the end, but I actually found that a scribble for 30 seconds. I put that in before automatic writing. I don't have to anymore because my automatic writing goes right on. But when people are new, I tell them you scribble for 30 seconds to shut off that conscious mind. And I've known readers that scribbled while they did, because you're absolutely right on that. It really is about shutting down that conscious mind. You know what? I could have killed myself once. I have a friend who collects haunted objects, Calvin, and I think he's going to be on the podcast again. And he's sort of a non-believer, but he gets readings from me, and I described his wife perfectly, who is a reader. And so he's kind of on the fence. So he said, this is, somebody owns this object and no one has ever gotten the first name of it. And immediate in my mind, I saw Sam Elliott. And I said, Sam. And he said, no, it's Elliott. And I could kill myself for not just going, I saw Sam Elliott. But you can't go back. You don't get psychic points when you go back like that.
No, that's right. Yeah, it turns out that nobody believes you when you have to try again. Wow, there you go. Well, that's a great, perfect example of what I'm talking about. It just popped into your head. You don't know why. And I think the cool thing about people like Prudence is she just got so used to trusting that first instinct and not questioning it, that it made her extra proficient because she wasn't trying to analyze it in her conscious mind at all.
Exactly. When I'm doing a reading sometimes and I hear in my own head, what are you talking about? Then I know it's almost channeled information. Like if I'm like, it's just coming out, then I'm like, oh, we're good there. That's, you know what I mean? Like that's a really interesting stream of information. But I totally believe, first of all, I believe everybody's a little psychic, but if you're at all interested, involved, I don't know, adjacent to the paranormal, you're going to have that happen. So I would 100% put you in the psychic. You are though, and you are the, I don't even want to give you this title because I feel like the title of skeptic has just turned into the title asshole, because skeptics aren't like checking information. They're going up against you. You know what I mean? Like documentaries, there's no documentaries now. They're all about we're going to get this person. They're all like hit jobs. So agenda. But I really think you try to find the scientific. We need another word that isn't as like skeptic to me means someone's going to say something shitty to me.
Man, you are so right. And another term or whatever label that has always had kind of a bad name but has gotten much worse is conspiracy theorist, right? That's always been bad when they take conspiracy and add theorist, because it makes it sound like you've gone way down the rabbit hole and you're totally crazy. And the unfortunate thing is there are conspiracies. There are, and some of them are really amazing, and you would never believe it in a million years. It doesn't mean they're not true, but in the social media and in the world's eye right now, that's just a really bad thing. All conspiracy theorists are, we believe anyway, or we've come to believe that they're all crazy, right? And that's not necessarily the case. And you're right about skeptic, because you know me, I love, the idea of UFOs and investigating things, and why wouldn't this be possible? And let's at least keep an open mind. And in the old days of the UFO world, a skeptic was exactly what you just said. It was a person with an absolute agenda to not only discount what you're saying, but really ridicule and destroy your reputation and make you look like an idiot. So, yeah.
And
agenda-driven.
Yes, I feel like that comes from fear. Like so when I moved out here, there's all the local comics are just great. And there was this one, and whenever I said I read tarot cards, this was a really nice person that really liked me. But whenever I said I read tarot cards, he would come at me. Or whenever I talked about spirit, ghosts or spirits, he would come at me like someone that hated me. And he wouldn't call me like a liar, but he was like, it's all bullshit. And you don't tell me you don't know. Like it was so aggressive that I was like, he is terrified of this.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so worried and he may not realize it. And I, a lot of people, I will give them one bit of credit, which is they may legitimately not realize what is happening to them at the subconscious level. They may really think that this is a natural and normal reaction they're having. But obviously, we all know something about that, the unknown or something terrifies him. And he doesn't want to be the one that you pulled one over on him. And, I think a lot of these people that are just so over the top, protest whenever you have a theory about paranormal or you allow yourself to be open to another possibility that's not the norm. Mm-hmm. It's just that thing you and I talked about before, right? It's just that cognitive dissonance. It's this psychological thing where people have created a reality bubble, and everyone has one. And some people's reality bubble extend really far out, and they'll allow certain things to be a possibility. And other people's reality bubbles are 1 inch from their nose.
Yeah.
And if you try to even have an opinion, that is a threat. And it immediately gets them upset, and then it gets them angry, and then it gets them sometimes violent because they don't know how to channel the anger. So
yeah.
Common issue, man. And don't tell them facts, Karen. That'll just piss them off. It always reminds me of Blazing Saddles, that old movie, Mel Brooks, where they had this huge character, Mongo, and he was sort of the thug and just this giant guy. And they said, don't shoot him. You'll just make them angry. I always think the same thing with skeptics, right? Don't tell them facts. You'll just piss them off. They don't want to hear that.
That's so funny. And I kind of hate walking away from, twice I walked away from him and I was kind of like, ugh, I wish I should have said something, even if it was like, hey, you don't have to be so disrespectful, because you don't. And I think he would have actually heard that and understood it. But instead I sit home and lay awake at 2 a.m. going, why didn't you stand up for yourself?
That's right. That's right. You're doing what do we all do. Or you could have done the comic thing, right, and said, oh my God, your spirit guide told me you'd say that.
Yes, exactly. Well, also the thing with conspiracy theorists, and we've talked about this too. And so for everyone who, I'm going to do a really fast recap of you. I think everyone knows you, but Jeff is like a really smart, you're like a tech video guy. Like you're a logic person, and you went to a UFO conference kind of as a goof and met Dr. Stephen Greer, and you were like, hey, I edit things. He was like, I have all these tapes. And you were just like, I could donate the time. And then he sent you the tapes, and you said it changed your life. Watching all those tapes, like you went into shock, kind of, right?
I did. And just so the audience knows, it was just hundreds of hours of witness testimony to the fact that UFOs are real. And the people that were saying this were brigadier generals, the head of NORAD, the head of the FAA, people that worked on nuclear aircraft carriers. So very astronauts, very vetted people were telling their stories, and that's what blew my mind.
There were no nose rings or...
No, it wasn't a rancher, in Montana. It wasn't a dude that had been drinking. These were all very, very vetted, logical humans, and the last thing they would ever want to do is be ridiculed or ruin their reputation.
Right, and that brings two things to mind before we go to the break, which is I am so in tune now to plausible deniability, and the other thing is conspiracy theorists have been kind of being proven true a lot lately. A lot. And I'm going to take a break and we'll be right back right there.
Many people are unaware just how much hypnotherapy can help them, or think it's only to help lose weight or quit smoking. But there is so much more hypnotherapy can do. It can help with stress, anxiety, insomnia, phobias, performance enhancement, connecting with your spirit guides and higher self. You can even discover past lives and your life between lives. Heal traumas, break habits, find your deepest truth, or just have fun discovering who you really are, all from the comfort of your home. I'm Monique Pliakis. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I want to help you. Schedule a free consult by going to www.innerstandingshypnosis.com. That's INNERSTANDINGSHYPNOSIS.com. Innerstandings Hypnosis. Find your power and ignite your inner light.
No, actually, I just turned that on, and Jeff was just saying we never have any trouble getting onto topics because I was like, "Yes, I'm scary," and then I just started thinking, "Yeah, we could talk forever. We could have a podcast, the Karen and Jeff podcast, and people would love it."
I wish we would. I'd love that. That would be awesome.
I know. Well, believe me, on my short list, I don't think I want a reality show, but you and Ryan Singer, that would be amazing and funny and brilliant, and he's so deep, like theoretically, and then you're so factual, and then I'm just air.
I love it. No, that's great. Is he also a comic or no?
Yes, he's a stand-up. He's such a talented stand-up and really into the paranormal. And but it's like I don't think I want a show, but if I did, it would be like I see. I'm nobody to even. First of all, with all the paranormal shows and all the paranormal investigators, it's a 1 in a million, and it'd be lucky if you even get in the table. But I keep thinking, if you're going to set me up with a lot of unfunny people, I don't want to do it.
Right, sure.
If you're going to give me Jeff and Ryan, I'm in. And this is the one, and this is a very touchy subject because it was the only time people did not like. I knew a guy that was like 100% QAnon, and he told me all this stuff, and I said, just so you know, this is what they're saying. And I put it out January 2nd, so people would know January 6th was coming. The government couldn't see January 6th coming. Karen Rontowski talking to one guy on her phone said January 6th. Okay. So there's a big issue with how they're handling that because we know they knew that was a show, but but people really didn't like, they were like, don't give QAnon any time. But QAnon was they were either giving or QAnon was taking these little teeny pearls of truth and then turning them into Pizzagate or whatever the hell, or Trump is God.
You really just hit on the core of the conspiracy theory danger zone, like when it goes bad, and you nailed it. Like there's the critical thinking, rational thought, scientific method, all that stuff. But the conspiracy theory is addictive, like a drug to some people, and I get it. And once you have a couple of things that you think fit, and now you feel special because you have this insider information and no one else does, and it kind of empowers you, then like you just said, Karen, you start to make false equivalents. Mm-hmm. You start to blow it up into larger things where there is no path to that. You're just putting puzzle pieces where they don't belong because you want to keep playing the game, right? The scavenger hunt can never end.
Yeah.
And that's when it spirals and you lose your shit. And I'll make this very quick, but if you look at the witnesses, for instance, to this UFO thing, these government and military witnesses, the one way that you know, oftentimes, that they're not bullshitting is they won't do that. If a guy worked at Area 51 and he was the guy that would build engines that would allow our pilots to fly craft that were given to us by ETs, you could ask him anything you wanted about the capacitors that he built and the details of those training vehicles. But if you went off track and started to ask him about other aliens or what does this mean here and there, he would go, I don't know. I have no frickin' clue. Mm-hmm. I was just the blah, blah, blah that did this, and I clocked in, and here's what I did. These guys would not go down any rabbit hole ever because they weren't addicted to a conspiracy theory. They were repeating what really happened.
Yeah.
Did you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So very interesting to me, that concept you just brought up.
And, it's funny because I'm not I think I just don't have the attention span for a rabbit hole person, because I think that would be, you know what I, like, I think
Awesome,
like
yeah.
I can't write a movie. Once I get sort of, I skim the top. I just taped a podcast with my friend. And this is sometimes when I talk to Ryan too, I'm like, they are so deep and they have thought this through so much. And I just skimmed the top. My friends are going to shaman schools and stuff. And I'm like, I get the gist. And then I stop. But, the other side of that, if you don't go down a rabbit hole, is you can get very, very depressed. Like, I think it was maybe 2 years ago where I went from, I don't really believe the media, to holy shit, everything's a lie. That guy, and that can be very, like, you're kind of collapsing and you can't talk to other people about it. And all of them, believe me, I'm not standing up for one news company or the other, but I remember when Rachel Maddow had this ad and she would say, have all these reference cards on the floor. And she would say, this is how you find the story. You look at everything. And then now I think, no, that's how you make your story match what you want it to match. Like, it's just perspective. But it was like that to me. And that is still like a heartbreaking, just the other day I was watching my friend talk about how there was like CNN actually got caught building a studio that made it look like the reporters were coming from Iraq during that war. Like, you know what I mean? This woman was talking about, she had a little flood in her basement, and for hurricane purposes, she watched, the reporter was talking to her. She watched the reporter bend down and be on her knees so it looked like the water was all the way up her thighs. It's like that can just be actually, like, that can kind of make your reality collapse also.
Yeah. Right. And those examples you just gave, I have a friend, I'm sure he didn't create this little funny one-liner, but he oftentimes says it's not a conspiracy, it's just business. And you can take that a bunch of different ways, but for instance, and I'm not saying this is what's going on, but if you're CNN, probably a lot cheaper to build a studio and create green screens and backgrounds with practical props than to actually send people places and do things like that for logistical purposes. And maybe in the back of your mind, you feel like, but who cares if they're not really there? The story is real and this is happening, so who cares? And then pretty soon you're bending it so much, and we've seen this a million times, where they borrow stock photos from elsewhere and stick it in because they're just freaking lazy and sometimes don't even want to pay the amount of, or my favorite, the government it couldn't possibly hide, UFOs. There's no way. And it's like, right, you're right. They can't. The government's not in on it. They don't know shit about it. They're out of the loop. They're just business as usual, red tape and bureaucracy. And that's correct. But
go ahead.
It's amazing we get information at any time that's even half accurate. And by the way, people go back to Walter Cronkite. Well, those were the days when it was accurate. No, it wasn't. Walter Cronkite read what was told to him. He wasn't there. I mean, sometimes he was, very rarely. But I mean, back in my day, the news was accurate. Was it?
Right.
Was the news accurate, dude? Really? The Vietnam War? That was accurate?
Right.
Oh, okay.
They hid the agenda better.
Right. I just, I run into this a lot with older folks that are, just fond about the good old days. I'm not going to go so far as to say make America great again, but just older people that have this memory of, well, back when I was a kid, we didn't do that, we didn't do this, and those were the perfect times, and everything was better. And it's like, no, dude. You're completely wrong. The world was always the way it was. I'm sure that people in the 4th century BC were completely thinking it was the Enlightened times compared to the 6th century BC.
Not only that, I find it very funny. There's a TikTok account, and she's anti-feminist, and she keeps showing this, like, she's interviewing a 50s housewife and goes, oh, in the future you get to sit in a cubicle and just have coffee. And then the housewife's like, really? But I like staying home and baking and waiting for my husband. Like, she's making it look like the 50 housewives were so much happier than the rest of us. And I was like, you know what? I don't think anyone's ever actually that happy. And you know what's the weird one now is like I am wondering if we seriously know anything about medicine. Like everyone is sick with some disease. Like, are we curing anything? Like, I cannot wait for the time when someone is saying they, I don't know, we're eating different and our cancer's going away. And then we're going to tell them, we used to put poison in people so that it would kill the cancer. And it just happened to kill you know what I mean? Like, it's like, do we really know? I don't know anymore. But a weird segue now. Because, I just started taking all these herbs and I cannot believe how powerful, like literally it is. If you're not shoving candy, you know what I mean? I think when we're eating, whatever the conspiracy is, we won't do this with you, but they really are poisoning the food or bioenergetic or something, something's going on there. So my friend, I'll send this to you at the break. You can take a look. My friend sent me a picture of the chemtrails in the sky in Minnesota, and it's unbelievable because everyone wants to say that, that's just how a plane engine, that's science that comes out of... There was no plane that would be flying in the grid that he took a picture of in the sky. How deep in the rabbit hole did you... we'll get to scary stuff next. How deep in the rabbit hole of chemtrails did you go? Or do you think it's the government I think it's the government trying to control the weather. And now Afghanistan is flooded and literally is changed on the map. If you look at Google Maps, Afghanistan has changed. How it looks, and now the hurricanes and the floods and I think that we tried to make clouds and we screwed up.
I will say, staying as objective as I can, but I don't know what it is. Everything you said, though, is not a far-fetched thing. If you said what you just said, back in the 30s or 40s, maybe that's far-fetched. But nowadays, weather modification is not far-fetched at all. I don't know what it is, but one thing I do 100% believe, and I've done just enough research talking to buddies of mine who have flown jets, understanding how a contrail is formed, when it's formed, under what conditions can you see that vapor trail behind a jet. And I will tell you that there is never a normal reason for a giant crisscross checker pattern to occur over a city. There's no standard explanation or standard reason for that, and you will never get one from official channels. Now, does that mean that everyone in the military is covering it up? No, it's probably one of those situations where it is a thing. Is it nefarious? I don't know, but there is something going on there. It's 100% deliberate, and we just haven't found the people that are telling us what it is yet. But it's a thing. For sure it's a thing.
It's almost like now they're not hiding it, because I remember seeing that in Los Angeles. I looked, we're always gray and cloudy where I live now, but planes would be hitting each other if they did what he sent me. So I don't know, it has to be one plane that either the guy was so drunk he was drawing squares in the sky instead of someone's "Will you marry me?" or something like that. So it was just, So, all right. So let's, so what else have you been, do you have any scary UFO stories, or did any of them, probably because Dr. Greer was so sort of fact-oriented in the beginning, did he have any abduction stories? We need to scare some people right now, Jeff. That's the...
No, I hear you. I had... my apologies. I don't know if I ever told the story. When it came to abduction, the witnesses that were gathered in the Disclosure Project, and now if anybody wants to see it on Netflix, it's called Unacknowledged. Mm-hmm. That is the continuation of the Disclosure Project, and it's an actual documentary on Netflix. Everyone should see it, Unacknowledged.
To use the word unacknowledged, did you get acknowledged as the editor of the first one?
Yeah, no, sure. In the Disclosure Project, the original one that took place in the early 2000s, yeah, Jeff Thill is listed as,
Right.
I think, editor and producer or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was never anyone in the witness pool that had abduction stories. The closest we got to somebody who had allegedly dealt with multiple types of extraterrestrials was a guy named Clifford Stone, and he died not too long ago. And he was on these teams that would go in after a UFO would crash. In some cases, they crashed. Oftentimes, they were targeted by us. And I won't go into all the details on how we did that. But when there was a UFO crash and it was legitimately an extraterrestrial, his team would immediately go in and pretend that it was a biohazard, a chemical spill, a nuclear problem. Some local biohazard was the common thing. Just like you see in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, frankly, where they create these pretend situations where, oh my God, there's a chemical thing and everyone get back. And they would retrieve the stuff immediately. And that was called Moonfly or Blue Fly or something. I can't remember the name of the project actually. But anyway, he said, when asked by a reporter.
I have to say, I'm going to start naming all my trips Project something. Project
something, that's right. Yeah, you got to give it a code
Butterfly.
You got to give it a code name.
Yes,
yeah,
okay.
Moon Dust, I think, or Blue Fly, yeah. So, anyway, long story short is that was the closest we got to someone who had actually had experience, allegedly, with extraterrestrials. And when asked by a reporter at a hearing that they held in Washington, what do these aliens look like? His answer was, I can't tell you unless you tell me which species you're asking about, because we had identified dozens of different species by the mid-1970s. So abductions, I don't know. Now, I do know that there was a program, in effect, to make it look like people were being abducted and to use that as a cover story when actual military things were happening, called My Labs.
Wait
so there
a
were
minute.
military operations, yeah.
Okay, you never told me this. Were they actually abducting people, or were they having people say they were abducted?
Right. So I don't know what actually took place that's documented, but I know My Labs was a program, maybe still in effect somehow, where, and it goes along with a thing called Red Light, where you would create or stage UFO incidents or mess with somebody psychologically or even abduct them, and then the cover story would be UFO, an alien. I have these weird memories of these crazy things. And then what would that do? That would destroy the person who was the victim's credibility, and everyone would make fun of him, and the whole thing would be put to bed as a kooky person, right? But I know that was a project. How far it got, I don't know.
Okay. You know what? Let's take a break right there, and we're going to come right back. That's a perfect spot. That makes me so mad. Okay, hold on.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and Prithvika is my collection of consciously created crystal and nature-forged jewelry. Prithvika translates to of the earth in Hindi, which represents the natural earth-made materials I'm working with, along with my personal ancestry and grounded energy. Each piece is created through ceremony and science, and completed with being Reiki charged. I'm currently featuring copper mirror necklaces, which can be used for protection and mirror magic. My intention is for your new piece of jewelry to feel like an extension of self, to help bring your desires to fruition and to amplify the magic within you. My Instagram is @Prithvika, and my website is prithvika.com. That's PRTHVEEKA.com.
To do that to people, just not care that you're destroying someone's life, that makes me crazy. I know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it evolved over time. In the old days, when you knew too much about the extraterrestrial situation and these technologies, you were eliminated. You were taken out, like killed. or threatened.
So, like,
And
if
then later,
if at Area 51 someone could put too many pieces together, they were killed?
well, sure, but we all think of Area 51 as the place. Keep in mind that's just what we know from UFO folklore. But in addition to there being technologies there that didn't come from here, it's also a super top secret testing ground, and there's legitimate reasons why you want to keep people away, right, for national security. And that area is really called S4 or Groom Lake. It was named Area 51 later on. Anyway, but but all over the world, I mean, people would just be taken out. And if you talk to, these guys that we had as witnesses, one of the guys was an enforcer. He was one of the dudes that would do this. And he would say, each time somebody would start to leak things and kind of try to screw things up, a whistleblower of some kind or a witness, he's the one that would go in and assess. And then he would either discredit you and find ways to ruin your life and just make you look like an idiot. Or if that wasn't going to work, they would call in what he called the A-team. And those guys would end it permanently, right? The way he said it, your bones out in the desert kind of a thing. So,
jeez.
Yeah, so over time, I think they figured out it's sometimes much easier just to discredit someone and make them look like an idiot and ruin their reputation than no one believes them, right?
Can you actually discredit someone now? That's literally my question. I know that we're comedians, so we have a different level of acceptance for crazy. Like, I don't know how to say that, but after seeing the crazy things and the internet and everything, I mean, you could be a conspiracy theorist and be a lawyer, and that doesn't discredit you. You know what I mean? Like,
apparently not. You can definitely be a senator.
Yes. You could be, or maybe president even. It's kind of like, maybe they don't even have to bother with that anymore.
And people should also understand that there's a million types of conspiracy theorists, certainly, but there's two main categories for me in my head. And category number one, when I talk about an actual conspiracy theorist, someone who's just addicted to conspiracies and they go down these rabbit holes and it's like a drug. There's people out there that really believe them and they can't get enough, and there's no depth that they will stop at when it comes to a rabbit hole. They'll go as deep as they want to go. Then there's people who are profiting from conspiracy theories, like Alex Jones, or a number of sitting senators right now and politicians who don't believe one effing word of the conspiracies that they're pitching. It's a completely manipulation. It's 100% playing to a personality type. Somebody who struggles with critical thinking, someone who just wants everything to be the Jerry Springer show. If I don't understand something, and now I'm angry at it, and we need to get those guys, and you see what they're doing, and get that baby mama, go get that dude, no, kill him, God, lynch him, It's just, they know that that's an easy target, and, oftentimes the conspiracy theorist, I hate to say, is the type of person that struggles with critical thinking and is quick to anger. And, hey, man, if you're marketing something or pitching something or selling something, or you want them to donate money to you, man, talk about a gullible target, right? Mm-hmm. Easiest one out there. So,
wow, yeah. Well, that's, God, I don't know. That's crazy. I still want to know what the aliens look like. I looked up.
Me too. I do too.
Because
the one guy, my favorite guy was, our guy that actually worked in, like I said, S4 Area 51, and he was there when it was first built out. And he's the one that worked on these devices that we were given in a technology exchange from what he called these beings called the J-Rods. And he drew a picture of exactly what they look like, and it's exactly what you think.
I have to look.
The big eyes and yeah.
What is it? I'm looking it up right now. Picture. I can just put in picture of the J-Rods.
His name is the guy's name is Bill, and his last name is Uhose, Uhose. He was a Marine captain and an engineer, and he gave us hours and hours of testimony before he died, and he explained exactly what was going on, and they would train our pilots how to fly their craft, and he worked alongside a alien, and he had to go through a series of psychological tests to be able to work in that sector with that alien, because a lot of people would, this is the 50s, by the way, a lot of people would have lost their minds and not been able to work alongside an alien. You know, it's a devil, it's a demon, you know, just especially the 50s.
You keep going with this. I want to tell you, you told me about this last time, and I looked him up before. I love this story. Keep going.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, so, and I think that the thing you and I talked about that was so fascinating is he won't drift from his story. You can't get him to go down some other rabbit hole. He's a very straightforward guy, and he will talk to you for hours. He's passed away now, but he would talk to you for hours about every detail of how they built these test devices that would train our pilots on how to use their technology. And he joked that it was kind of like the Model T Ford. They weren't really giving us the good stuff. It was just some shitty, antiquated shit. Way better than what we could do, you know, in terms of flying these crazy craft. But my favorite part of it was how he communicated with it. And he said it wouldn't talk with its mouth. It would talk to you in your mind. And you could hear it talking to you very clearly, but it would be in your own voice. So it's like you're talking to yourself. And then he said, if you're not ready for it, and if you don't condition your mind correctly, or you're having a bad day, then it starts to repeat and echo. And sometimes it would get very frustrating because he would say, how do you do this? And then in his mind, he would hear, how do you do this? And the alien made it clear that, dude, it's not me, it's you. You guys aren't very good receivers. You know, I'm trying my best to communicate, you dumbass, but your brain isn't working, you know.
That's a whole interesting thing in that. So when I do my automatic writing in the morning, where I get most of, I guess, kind of psychic information or helpful information, and I would venture to say, I could say higher self or subconscious is giving me good information, but I feel like it's guides, which I don't know that it's aliens, but you get a frequency when you do it day after day after day. So that repeat frequency would be what these guys want. In other words, so if U-Haul is on the wrong frequency, the information doesn't come in. If he's on the correct frequency, he can hear everything.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, and also I think, if you ask him to, you know, he is gone, like I said, if you asked him to speculate as to what was happening, he couldn't really tell you because he didn't know himself. And he's, you know, this guy's a typical military engineer guy, super left brain, and he's not going to speculate. But, you know, he would say, you just have bad days when you're trying to communicate with this thing. And he also said he was frustrated because he knew damn well it wasn't really telling him everything. It would only tell you the bare minimum you needed to know just to get one thing done. Now, that's also the way, you know, special access projects work, right? How do they keep these secrets? Well, only a handful of people ever know any one part of it, and only one or two people know the whole thing, right? It's all compartmentalized.
Right.
So it's almost like this thing was being instructed from other things to only give the bare basics and keep everything separate. So if the shit hits the fan, no one can put the pieces together, you know?
You know, what's very interesting, now I'm going to start my own conspiracy about this, because I put it in, and it looks like he was communicating with someone that looks like a typical gray, but they put this gray in a business suit, or they put a regular shirt on him so he would fit in or something?
He did. No, he did. He said it was very off-putting. The thing would wear like a collared shirt, and you know, and by the way, like I said, to brace him for this, they showed him a whole slideshow of mutations and, you know, scary things, and just almost tried to scare him or desensitize him. And he's like, in his own words, it's like, they tried to, you know, freak me out or whatever, but I don't care who I'm working with or what it is or how it got here. I just want to, you know, do my work. And you'll hear him many times in his interviews. He'll talk about feel-good fellas. It's one of those feeling good fellas. And that was code for an alien. They had just funny expressions back then. So whenever you hear him say he was one of those, you know, feel-good fellas. And the reason they called him a J-Rod, that's an expression back then, almost like a gremlin. When you can't explain what it is that broke on an airplane or whatever, it must have been those damn Johnson rods. That dumb J-Rod there must have broke. And there's no such thing as a Johnson rod or a J-Rod. So that's just an expression for we don't know what it is, and that's how that thing got the name J-Rod.
I love this guy. Bring in Ted Bundy. As long as he's done by 5, I'll be fine. That's, you know what? There's another part to this. I would love to know. I know this probably is why U-Haul was chosen, but did he ever say if this thing had a sense of humor?
No, now possibly. I only went through the tapes that we had. It's very possible that he gave other interviews that I'm unaware of. And it's a shame too, because I think, like with all these interviews, really, we should have, if time had allowed, spent days and weeks with these people, because there's so many questions that are unanswered. And a lot of these interviews, unfortunately, like with a lot of interviews in life, they're kind of stream of conscious. You know, they try to grab a whole bunch of interesting information, but they don't really, completely answer each and every little question that you might have. So that part was disappointing. And a lot of these folks, I would say a third of the disclosure witnesses have long since passed away, unfortunately.
Wow, yeah. And there must be a whole nother set of them right now, but it's interesting because they would fit in as the general public. They would fit in with any guy you were sitting next to in a bar talking about aliens.
Well, yeah, and that's how this thing is kept a secret, is need to know and compartmentalization. And very often you'll see very arrogant people. Maybe it's a general in the Army or Navy or whatever, or maybe an admiral, or maybe it's a very high-level politician, all the way up to guys like Elon Musk, who very recently said, I don't believe that there are any aliens that have ever visited Earth, because believe me, if anyone would know, I would. And if you talk to these guys, they would laugh out loud.
Right.
Because, dude, there's no reason why he would know, and that's a super fucking arrogant thing to say. And but it's very common, right? It's a male thing for sure. But it's like, if I haven't heard about it, then trust me, it doesn't exist. It's again, cognitive dissonance. But what would happen all the time is the general knew nothing about it. But this guy that is 4 ranks below him was the head of an entire section that was completely unsanctioned, unauthorized, and had no paper trail. And so the ego of these people thinking they know everything is understandable, but completely wrong.
Well, it's kind of ridiculous too, and it's actually it's hysterical. That's how big his ego is, that he would know. And that's a funny thing, because there was a reporter I was listening to, and he was they're talking about Julian Assange and Trump, and they were like, look, it's wallflowers don't run for president or have leaks or report leaks. You need someone with that size of an ego, or someone that's not afraid to get out there and just sort of and some of the things that he was saying, the reason everybody in Washington turned so much on Trump, not because he wasn't like them, but because he was saying the quiet part out loud, because he couldn't control his mouth ever. Mm-hmm. So that's not the guy that you're going to tell about Area 51 or aliens or anything. But this is what's very interesting is when I put in Bob U-Haul, and I wonder if there's some people just kind of hoping these stories go away, if they care at all, or maybe if we make them into a campy movie like Mars Attacks, no one will care. But when I Googled that and put it in, there is a half a page of stuff and no more. And you can Google Karen Rontowski and it goes on for days. Google has everything, but it's literally a half a page.
A half a page for what? I'm sorry.
Pictures, or U-Haul's pictures, or there's a book.
U-Haul.
Yeah, U-Haul.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Camouflage Through Limit is the book, I guess, but there's very little.
And by the way, this is one of the main reasons why this topic, is very easy to dismiss. Well, I would see them a million times in the sky by now. If there really were UFOs, I would have seen one, and that's what everyone thinks. Mm-hmm. And yet they appear in the skies all the time, and the internet is filled with real, not fake videos of insane shit happening in the skies all the time.
Yeah.
To the point now where even mainstream channels within naval intelligence and, CIA and all this stuff are all saying, yeah, there's actual aerial phenomenon that we don't know what it is, and we are actually telling you this now. This is all real. And even the mainstream is starting to catch on to it. But understand that when someone like Bill Uhouse tells his story, he is rewriting history. In order to believe him, you have to completely upend what you think happened over the last 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically telling you this whole brand new version of reality. Well, that is a hard pill to swallow, even for the most open-minded person. So what normally and naturally happens is, can he prove it? No, not really. Okay, well, next story. Goodbye.
Right.
And no one cares, right? And I don't blame them for not caring, by the way. It's not their fault. It's just, well, you say you saw a UFO, and I'm sure it was amazing. Prove it. Well, here's the video. Yeah, well, that could be faked. Next,
Yeah.
Oh, what's Kim Kardashian doing? I mean, that's how life works.
Yeah, that and even when I watch the ghost videos, it's very rare that I find one. Not that they're not real, but very rarely that I find one and I go, that's 100% real, because of how many things can be faked.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a tough, it's a tough, tough road to hoe there. Wow, we did it.
Yeah.
Jeff, you're so interesting. That felt like 2 minutes.
Well, good. I'm glad we, it did. That felt very quick. And, as always, look forward to coming back.
Absolutely. And tell people where they can find you, or they can listen to your music from the J-Rods.
Yeah. No, you can, you'll find me on our future podcast, with, Karen and I and, Ryan, right? Right,
yes,
Karen?
our TV show. Our TV
that's
show.
Right. But if and musically, if anyone's interested, I do have fun pop punk kind of retro 80s songs. A lot of them have to do with these types of topics if you read the lyrics. And that band is called Sonic Descent, Descent. And I'm on all the streaming platforms. So if you want to have a retro trip to pop punk ska land, check out that music. But yeah, as always, man, so fun to talk to you, Karen.
You too. And tell everybody that little series that you made that was so good.
Oh, on YouTube, yeah. I'd like to make that into an actual pitch for a TV show eventually. But there's a little mini series that I did on YouTube. It's called Majestic 12. And we can't get into it right now. There's too big of a story, but it's basically the idea that the Navy has a secret space fleet that they've never told us about, and this is sort of a funny concept where one of the guys that's in one of these jump ships is constantly getting in trouble, bumping into other alien species, and it's almost like Gomer Pyle in outer space, is what I would really call it. And there you go.
Our friend Dean Lacrone is in it, and he's so funny.
Greatest guy ever, just amazing, fun dude, and yes.
Oh, my God. All right. Well, happy Halloween, Jeff.
Thanks, Karen. You too. Take care.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. And join the Patreon. I'm having a lot of fun over there. Okay, bye, everybody.
Paranormal Karen.